What's going on? Thank you for tuning into the MMA Podcast. It is March 3rd. We got a lot to break down. UFC 184 was this past weekend. Ronda Rousey went out and she does what she does. She finished the fight in 14 seconds against top contender Kat Zingano. We'll break down that fight and the rest of the card. A bunch of fallout from the card. Brock Lesnar was there. We'll talk a little bit about that. It ends up being Burt Watson's final event. We'll talk about his departure from the UFC. Also touch on this weekend's Bellator card, the British Invasion, along with a bunch of fights that have been made. Alvarez versus Melendez, a fight for Dong Young Kim, Lim versus Magny. We got a lot to break down. Let's do it, people.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
Thank you much, Lenny Hart, and let's get straight to it. It is the MMA Podcast, March 3rd, and it is myself and two regular co-hosts, the first of which being from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's the Eagle. He's on Twitter at Westland Eagle AH. What's going on, Alan?
What's up, everybody? It's good to be here.
What did you think of UFC 184?
I had to watch it in my car at work.
Good times.
But I did get to see all the finishes, and the main card was really exciting. I mean, it was a whole bunch of finishes, and my boy Alan Jobin came through, got the knockout. But yeah, I was impressed.
Native.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be that good. And, even though the co-main event kind of was a little, it was a good card.
And, of course, you know him by many names, the word on the street, the Aunt Jimmy Show, Ramses. What the hell is going on? What is the word on the street, man?
You know who this is. I got the word on the street. That's why I am the word on the street. All day. Jake, Alan, once again, I'm really excited for back on the MMA Podcast, and I am glad that Burt Watson is gone from the UFC forever, and I'll tell you why as the show goes on.
Jesus.
Word on the street.
Word on the street. That is a scorching hot take. We will get to Burt Watson and all that, but first let's break down the card. UFC 184 is this past Saturday, the first event the UFC ever put on in the Staples Center in LA. Had a gate of 2.7 million, attendance of about 17,500 folks. It was a pretty packed fight, and man, Alan said it. The main card was really fun. The prelims, we saw a few impressive finishes. Tim Means, Derek Lewis with pretty nice TKOs, and Rohan Carnero with a technical submission, putting Mark Munoz to sleep 1 minute and 40 seconds into the fight. But let's talk about the main card, and we'll do it like we normally do. We'll break down the first four fights all in one bunch, and then we'll talk about that Rousey-Zingano fight on its own. The first fight, Tony Ferguson with a rear naked choke over Gleison Tibau. I was wondering why they even made this fight. It seemed like a step down in competition from Ferguson's last fight. Gleison is an awesome fighter. He's just sort of getting closer to the end of his UFC career. Like Alan said, Alan Jobin defeating Richard Walsh. Beautiful first round KO, 2 minutes and 19 seconds in, lands an elbow and finishes it up with punches. We had Jake Ellenberger fighting Josh Koscheck, who hadn't fought in like a year and a half. A lot of folks saying that Koss should hang up the gloves after getting choked out in embarrassing fashion via north-south choke. Not really embarrassing the way he fought. I thought he put up a fight. Offered a little bit of wrestling, especially in the first round. Just when you get choked out and the camera zooms into your face and you're foaming at the mouth, that's never a good thing. The co-main event, Holly Holm, who was a giant favorite against Rocky Pennington. Pennington put up way more of a fight than really anyone expected outside of her and her trainers and family, probably. It was a split decision, 29-28, 28-29, 30-27. Rocky actually landed more strikes than Holm in a fight where, we've seen guys, come from, be it Strikeforce, be it boxing like Holm, be it an amateur MMA career, and their first fight in the UFC is pretty daunting, and they have octagon jitters a lot of times, and not a lot of fighters are thrust into the co-main event of a pay-per-view card. Holm, wouldn't have been the main event if the Jacare Romero fight wasn't scrapped, if the Weidman Belfort fight wasn't scrapped. So it was definitely it was a lot for her to handle, for her first UFC fight to be a co-main event, and you could see that she was really, really nervous, maybe the most nerves I've ever seen a fighter in their UFC debut, but I thought she won the fight 29-28, but I don't want to take the fight away from Rocky. She did 10 times better than anyone expected her to. And after watching this, I really don't think it would be wrong to say that she's a top 10 fighter in the women's bantamweight division. Alan, let me throw it to you first. The main card, those Ferguson, Joban, Ellenberger, and Holm fights. What did you take from it?
Everything kind of went as expected except for the Holm fight, the Tony Ferguson. I mean, every fight, man, he keeps improving and looking better and better. And T-Bow has had some pretty good wins as of late, but he's not going to beat those top 5 guys. And I definitely think Tony Ferguson is like top 7, top 5, and he definitely belongs in there. Like you said, step down, but he still performed like I expected him to. I mean, he controlled the whole fight and, got the finish. And then the Allen Joban fight, I really thought it was going to be a lot closer fight. Thought it would have went a lot longer. Walsh is, shown to have like a pretty good chin. But Joban, whenever he hit him with that elbow to his temple, it just completely obliterated Walsh's equilibrium. And the fight was over right there. They could have stopped the fight whenever he hit him with the elbow to the temple, because that was it. It was done. And it was beautiful. Joban, his cardio is insane. His will, his determination to win a fight. He doesn't give up. He doesn't stop. And then, if things get tough, he's able to, persevere, as we've seen like in later rounds, and, stay in the fight. So he's just such a good overall fighter, and he's from Louisiana. So, that's probably why he's badass. The Ellenberger and Koscheck fight, I really didn't know what to expect, because both guys are kind of on the slide. And Koscheck has been out for a while, but I was really impressed with the way Koscheck came out and was kind of controlling Ellenberger, and it was kind of boring. It's pushing him up against the cage and everything, but that's what wrestlers do. To stop strikers, you got to push them up against the fence. You kind of wear them out, get their arms to where they're all worn out and can't, their striking slows down, and then from there. That was the game plan that Koscheck, I figured he would try and implement, and he got sloppy. He kept putting his head down and keeping his head down, and Ellenberger said he noticed that Koscheck kept putting the head on the side, and that's whenever he just went for the choke. And I don't think the guy should retire. I don't even think he should get cut from the UFC. Koscheck, I think he still hangs in there, and he's still a good marketable fighter to keep on your roster. I don't know how much money he makes, but good for Jake Ellenberger though with getting the win. The Pennington fight in Holm. Watching Pennington's other fights, she was getting just obliterated by Ashley Evans Smith, in her last fight up until the end of the fight when she caught Evans and then got that bulldog choke. She was getting busted up on the feet, and I thought that was going to happen in this fight. But like you said, Holly Holm, man, the weight of the world on her shoulders. She was nervous. You could tell. I mean, she was just apprehensive. She wasn't. I mean, you watch her boxing fights and her other MMA fights, and like she always follows up strikes. She doesn't throw 1 or 2 strikes. Like she always follows up, and we did not see that from her. She just didn't want to get taken down. She was just totally apprehensive. So, I think she could have went out there and just finished Rocky. But like you said, props to Rocky, man. She looked good in there, and what else can I say?
Ramses?
Hell yeah. I'm so good I'm going to do this backwards, all right? The Holly Holm Pennington fight. It was an embarrassment to the sport of mixed martial arts and to women and to the Holm family. This woman apparently does not know how to really fight. Every combo she threw, she was ki-eyeing. Like, it just looked like she was working out, and like it wasn't even like actually happening. And Pennington was just taking a whooping for some reason. Well, not for some reason, because they paid a Holly Holm a shitload of money and they want to develop her. But yeah, that fight was a disappointment. Ellenberger versus Koscheck, however, that was a fun fight to watch for me personally. I felt really good inside in my heart after seeing that fight. Ellenberger defeats Koscheck with that choke. He's foaming. Koscheck is foaming at the mouth. He's looking like they stopped it at the 420 mark, by the way. And Koscheck was looking like he just smoked the shit that killed Spock. He looked like in Total Recall where Arnold's fucking helmet breaks and he's tumbling down Mars, choking. He was foaming at the mouth, like right before they shot Old Yeller. I loved every single second of it. He should retire. I think he's done, man. I mean, this fight was an embarrassment to him. And honestly, I don't like the guy either, so that plays a factor as well. I'm not biased enough to where I can't admit that. But yeah, man, this guy, the mouth foaming, there was something really, really bizarre and sad about it when you think back on it. I mean, no man should be humiliated like that. Even a Josh Koscheck. And then the other thing I wanted to say was Mark Munoz. He's another guy that should be right behind Josh Koscheck in the unemployment line next week. All right? It's time to stop this guy. Every time Mark Munoz fights, it's like when you click on an ISIS video. And last thing I want to say is in the prelims, my friend James Krause, he got robbed. Split decision. He was robbed, and that is the word on the street.
Alan, I want to backtrack really quick before we get to the main event, because you and I were actually texting during the Fox Sports 1 prelims during the Kid Yamamoto versus Roman Salazar fight, in a fight where it seemed like Kid was going to win a decision. His movement and striking looked a lot better than it has in his previous UFC outings, but all of a sudden there's an accidental eye poke, and Salazar, who was losing, tells the ref, I can't see, I can't go on, and almost coyly says like I think Big John was the ref, says, well, can you see? And Roman, saying if he can't see, the fight's going to be stopped, he is like, yeah, I mean, I can't see anything, but like he was asking for the fight to get stopped, in my opinion, because he knew he was going to lose the fight. Do you agree with that, Alan?
Yeah, I was so upset. It's so aggravating that something like this would happen. Yamamoto's been out for so long, and he came back at 135, where he probably should be competing at 125, and he looked really good. He wasn't being like overly aggressive or anything, but he was winning the fight. He was doing more work. He was landing the better strikes, and it was really funny because they were saying that Salazar really respected Yamamoto and was, whenever he took the fight, he was like, he respected him. And I was like, that you can see. Like, he couldn't not see. Big John asked him, he was like, can you see? And he's like, I don't, like, he was so unsure. And you could look at him and he was just playing it up. It was just
selling it.
Yeah, it's just kind of disgusting, and like I'm being honest. Like, I can understand when people get eye poked, and then like it's a serious issue, and we haven't heard any news that his retina got torn or anything like that in the in the media. So, I just think it was total bullshit. I think that he knew that he was losing the fight, and if they should have at least he should have at least tried to finish the round. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And now kid Yamamoto ends up with a fucking no contest. It's like the dude can't get a win. He's just either gets screwed on a decision or gets chipped out of a win by a bitch that doesn't belong in the octagon with him.
Kid can't seem to catch a win, and Ronda Rousey can't seem to catch a loss. Ronda Rousey with her 5th title defense in her 5th fight in the UFC, defeating a very game Cat Zingano. 14 seconds. I can literally describe everything that went down in the fight. Cat rushes in, throws what you could call an ill-advised knee. I'm not going to criticize the knee because looking at all of Ronda's previous fights, she normally comes to the center of the octagon pretty quickly. So I think Kat threw the knee thinking that that's what she would do. Ronda seemed prepared for it, and instead of rushing straight in, started the fight circling to her left, Kat's weak side. So I think she was ready for it. Kat throws the knee, they engage, they fall to the mat, they scramble, and Ronda, just being the genius grappler she is, found the loose arm, and before we knew it, I think it was clocked at something like 13.2 seconds, but officially it's 14 seconds. It's still the fastest finish in UFC title fight history. Ronda Rousey, I've heard her called the female Tyson, and I've heard a lot of folks not agreeing with that. I agree with it totally. Because like Dana said, when her fights are over, the entire crowd is just looking around like, the fuck was that? Like, what just happened? This is insane. It was the same feeling that Alan and I got live at her most recent fight before this at UFC 175 in Vegas, where you can't blink because in 30 seconds, Ronda Rousey has finished her last 2 fights. I think she has barely over 25 minutes of fight time total for all 11 of her fights, and 25 minutes is the time that a lot of title fights go. So I can't give her enough credit. I think it's about time we start putting her in the top 5 of the pound for pound rankings. Most pound for pound rankings I see. Yeah, I think Jones should be 1. I think Aldo should probably be 2. I think Mighty Mouse deserves to be up there. Probably Weidman 2, but then probably Rousey, because you can talk all you want about how shallow the women's bantamweight division is. You've got a lot of weak weight classes. There's no champion in the history of the sport like Rousey, and I think we got to start giving her due respect. Alan, what did you think about the fight and all the other bullshit I was talking about?
Did you remember what I tweeted? I mean, I messaged in our group chat that we have amongst us. I said,
What'd you say?
how long do you think this is gonna last?
It's an interesting question, you know. I think the answer is all up to Rousey. I think as long as she wants to keep fighting, she seems like she's leagues above every single woman she's fought. It's not a matter of if you can beat Rousey. It's a matter of how long is it going to take before she subs you out. So if she wants to keep fighting 2 more years, then two more years. If she wants to keep fighting 5 more, then I would say 5. Even if Chris Cyborg comes over from Invicta, I think Rousey subs her quick.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's I
insane.
mean, I knew it was gonna be bad, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I mean, that was the worst possible scenario.
I thought Kat was going to put up a better fight. I was, saying to friends, like, I think Ronda will win, but I like Kat's odds. I think if you get back 8 times your betting on Kat, then yeah, bet on Kat. But yeah, you said it. This was the absolute worst thing that could have happened. Kat really didn't get taken down by Ronda. Kat sort of jumped into Ronda's guard, if you can call it that. I mean, she leaped at Ronda, and next thing you know, they're scrambling, and next thing you know, the ref is pulling Ronda off because she's got like a weird, like, behind the back straight arm lock. Yeah, I think Ronda wins 99 out of 100 times, but I don't think if this fight went down 100 times that many of those fights would be worse than what we saw on Saturday. It was just a nightmare for her, and seeing her post fight speech was oh man, that was difficult, dude.
Dude, if she would have had a gun in the center of the octagon, I think she would have.
Oh my god! Yeah, let's let's actually listen to that clip of Kat being spoken to, being consoled by Rogan after the Ronda fight.
All right, I'm here with Kat Zingano. Kat, this is obviously a very disappointing moment for you. Give us your thoughts on what just happened and what your strategy was going into this fight.
I want to do it again. I just...
You came out very aggressive. You attacked, you grabbed a hold of her, you threw her to the ground, the position was reversed, you got your arm caught, she capitalized on it perfectly. When you watch it on the big screen, what's going through your mind?
She had my arm, and I saw her leg right there, and I thought to grab it and hold it, and all of a sudden I'm tapping, but it wasn't. It was in, but it wasn't in, but I want to do it again. It was in. She did it. She won. She did it. She did good.
Bang.
That was a good armbar. She did it.
It's impossible for anyone
Awkward
to
as
prepare
fuck.
for what you're feeling right now,
She
for this
just shot
moment,
herself.
going through this incredible.
Yeah, that was difficult. So you're saying right there is when the gun goes off?
Exactly.
It's fucking terrible. That's fucking terrible. Ramses, what did you think about Rousey Zingano?
The press conference later is when she actually, I believe she would have actually. Look, I know it's terrible
Just
given the
getting dark.
context and everything, but I'm just
Oh my
riffing off
God.
of what the Eagle said.
This is
Just riffing.
this is going off the rails, son.
It's a
Anyway,
fugazi.
the Rousey Zingano fight. I was initially impressed. Go ahead, Alan.
No, I was just gonna tell Jake. You know what you signed up for when you asked me to be on the show.
That's
I'm
true.
gonna bring it.
Dog, you gotta bust out some good weed, dog. Enough is enough with this
True.
shit.
It's like when Alex Jones had Joey Diaz on his show. You got to know what you're signing up for, man. Yeah. But the main event, Rousey Zingano, I was initially impressed. I was, of course, entertained. But since then, I've watched the fight. The fight's only, of course, 14 seconds long, so I've seen it at least 500 times. Anyway, now I have to say, looking at it, the fight, in my opinion, was a work, people. I believe that this fight was 100% choreographed, down to every single breath they were taking. The throw, the reversal, the perfectly dodged sidestep out of the knee. What more do you guys need? I mean, Ronda, of course, normally likes to just break that arm, just flap. You're not coming back ever again against me. Not with that dangling arm. But this time, she just locked it, and then just waited. And then, of course, like, they were both attractive. And then she did use what appeared to be the center of her mast to sink in that hold, when really she could have done it any number of ways. I believe that this fight was a dance of sorts. These two women went in there and
This is poetic.
yeah, they made some type of physical love to each other, a kind of physical interaction that we will never quite understand, but we're marveled and amazed by. But yeah, the fight was a work. I mean, it was. You heard Zingano, and she was talking nonsense. You can't trust her with a belt, a championship, not against a proven like Ronda. Someone's O had to go, and
it was Zingano.
Yeah, luckily the most. I mean, I'm just saying. Luckily, the most attractive and successful, and most famous star won the fight. I'm just saying it worked out. Everything worked out for the UFC, and it's great. And I applaud them. Ronda, quit turning down the advertisers coming at you from the wing places. Wingstop, Buffalo Wild Wings. I know it doesn't look good, but you love the wings. You might as well be getting paid for it.
That's right.
Am I talking crazy? Anyway, Zingano, get well soon. She's probably going to be committed soon, guys, and I'm not even joking, and I feel bad. That's the word in the street.
I want to touch on a few things as far as the fallout. Who does Rousey fight next, et cetera, et cetera. But Ramses, you just referenced Joey Diaz's epic rant on Alex Jones, and I got to thinking, I don't know if we've ever played that on the show. So folks, this is about a minute long, but without further ado, this is one of my heroes, Alan's heroes, Ramsey's heroes, Joey Diaz on Alex Jones' show, who's on Twitter at Real Alex Jones. Also follow Mad Flavor, that's Joey, and this is him on Alex's show back, I guess, November 5th, 2010.
So next time you listen to your bullshit congressman or your bullshit
We've played the first part, but not this entire rant.
Governor or even a bullshit president or somebody who's running for president, and he's hitting you with that same force shit that they give you every 4 fucking years, and you still vote for the fucking Momo, and then you get mad. Think about me saying the word fuck. With that, I'm out of here. I gotta go smoke a cigar.
Hey, hold on a minute. We gotta say bye here to
very
everybody.
solid points.
Don't do the no, I know. Joey, you get it.
I'm with you, but this is just to let the American public know that every 4 years they buy the same shit they've been buying every 4 years, and the same people with their Harvard articulation and how they don't curse, and they're Christians, and they have a family, and these are the same people that shove it up your fucking ass every year. The one thing that you'll get about me is I'll say fuck, but I will not fucking rob you. If I need something, I'll ask you like a man.
You're a good guy. Hey.
So go fuck yourself, you cunt.
Hold on 1 second.
Take a joke, take a shuttle. Joey Diaz, Facebook, Twitter, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Big dicks in your ass.
Get out of here. You're in trouble.
Oh hell yeah!
This is right, Joey. Coco Diaz. Let's do
in my city.
Yeah, Oh yeah, that's in the beautiful town of Austin. Let's do some rapid fire really quick. Go over a few things first. Alan, who should be Ronda Rousey's next fight and why? Rapid fire.
Frankie Edgar.
Frank Edgar. Ramses?
I mean, you have to give her the most attractive opponent possible. I would. No, Jessica I at this point. She is technically the next, rankings-wise, she is the highest ranked fighter in that division who has not already fought Ronda. So she's next in line, technically, if you go by the rankings. And she's hot, and she's a friend of mine. Shout out Jessica I.
Yeah, I actually think on merit alone that she should get the next fight. She's done a ton, beat a lot of game fighters. I don't think bitch Kohea really has earned it. Holm obviously is not ready. Tate needs to get another win or two. It doesn't really hurt that she's already gotten to fight Ronda twice, where a lot of these girls haven't fought her once. Alan, Joe Rogan said 2 days ago that Ronda Rousey might beat 50% of male UFC bantamweights. Do you agree with him?
Fuck no. Ian McCall and all the other flyweights would beat her ass.
I don't know which way to lean because I think that it would be close, but maybe there are some guys that just grappling-wise wouldn't know how to deal with an Olympic-level grappler just grabbing them and throwing them down. I think I might agree with him. Obviously, the top guys, the top 10 guys are all going to beat Ronda, but if we're talking the entire division, maybe. Ramses?
I gotta go with fucking Uncle Creepy on this one. Ian McCall has a pretty good point. I listened to the audio interview with him. Well, it was a video too, but where he said this that like Ronda like could not beat him. He was saying like there's just no way in hell a girl's gonna be able to throw me. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, I kind of understand that mindset, man. But obviously, if you don't know anything about, if you've never fought a day in your life, she'll whoop your damn ass. Just look at that one video where the stupid MMA journalist decides to get thrown by her, and she fucks him up, dude. But every other video I've seen of Ronda throwing a male has been when the male has kind of gone along with it, sold it. So I don't know, man.
There's a video of Rousey and Penn grappling, I think at the Mendez Brothers Studios, The Art of Jiu-Jitsu, if I'm not mistaken. And the video looks like they're pretty competitive, but from what I heard, the outtakes of that, Penn was just absolutely throttling her. Bitch Kohea says Ronda Rousey is not a good champion, says she's selfish because she's going to be in movies and not defending her title more. What do you think about that, Alan?
I totally agree. There's people chomping at the bit. You work for the UFC. I know that, you want to market your brand as much as possible, but your job solely and primarily is to defend that title.
I couldn't disagree more. If it wasn't for Ronda, bitch, you wouldn't be in the UFC. There wouldn't be a women's bantamweight or strawweight division in the UFC. So if Ronda wants to go make a movie, she's already one of the more active champions. She doesn't really get injured, so she's fighting 2 or 3 times a year. Let her go do whatever the fuck she wants. Ramses?
I agree with everything you gentlemen have said, and I can think of no other way to really reiterate that in a more precise fashion. So I thank you all. Bitch Kohea, man, let's face it though.
Bitch Kohea.
She is a butterface. That's the word on the street.
That is the word on the street. Chris Cyborg apparently to headline Invicta FC 13 on July 10th. The rumor is that she's going to try and make 135. And every time Dana and Lorenzo and Ronda have been asked, will you sign Cyborg? The answer is if she can make the weight. So if she does, Alan, do you think we see Chris Cyborg in the UFC ever
news.
to fight Ronda Rousey?
It will be the urine card, guaranteed.
Alan's calling it. Ramses?
I'm sorry, I don't even know what you gentlemen were talking about. I just got hit with some breaking news here on the Twitter feed.
Break it for us.
Right here, you heard it first, people. This is coming from the UFC Network, which is the Mexican UFC Network. The next season of Ultimate Fighter Tough Latino America will be coached by Team Kelvin Gastelum versus Team Rafael Escudero.
Really?
Yes.
That's fucking awesome.
Kelvin Gastelum, congratulations, gentlemen. A friend of mine, a good friend of the show.
Wow.
Wait, aren't they friends?
Coaching tough. Quit trying to. What is this? Kayfabe? Come on. Sell this shit. These guys hate each other ever since they were
Kelvin.
little kids.
Kelvin, make 170. Stop eating those tacos, buddy.
He's gonna finally take on his arch nemesis Escudero. All right, that's the story. We're sticking to it. Tough Latino America. I'm watching this one. I'm watching it this time. Luckily, I know Spanish, and so sorry for interrupting, but that is the
No. He's gone a long way in a very short amount of time, going from Tough 17, being the last guy picked, to being a coach of, I guess, is this going to be the first ever Tough Latin America? I know they've done Tough Brazil. Did they do a Tough Latin America last year? It was
yes,
Verdum coaching.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, something like
Kane
that.
and Verdum.
But I'll be damned if I watch it. But this time I'll be tuning in. I'm so excited. I'm tweeting about it right now. I love it, man. This guy needed this.
Fuck yeah, Kelvin. But Ramses, we'll get back to it. Do you think we see Cyborg versus Rousey in the UFC? Or will she never come over?
Nope.
Never make weight.
No, it would have happened by now. Every moment delayed is like you see those odds dropping. All right. I don't think she can make the weight. I think she was kind of honest about that. I obviously I don't believe that it would actually kill her. That's just preposterous.
She tweeted a picture of her a few days after her fight against Charmaine Tweet this past weekend, and she weighed 175.
175. Yeah, that's this is a big bitch, and she ain't gonna. There ain't no weight class in the UFC for her right now, and that's the problem. I would like to see the 145 open up for the women's division, and then she could take on Marina Shafir first, and then maybe I don't know. Maybe Ronda gets sponsored by the hot wing place, any place, puts on a couple pounds, and then she can expand like to the 145 class as well.
Woody's Wings, Aurora, Colorado. Sign her up, people.
Plucker's Wing Factory in Austin, Texas. I'll make it happen. But God bless everybody, man. But yeah, man, this fucking Cyborg, no way in hell. But honestly, they should open up the 145. Ronda would, just. That's where it's going. She's cleaned out her division. You open up a new one. And that's the bottom line. That's the word in the street.
I would be a little shocked if the UFC did that. Only because once the UFC made the 135 weight class for women, almost all the featherweight women in the world decided to try and cut down to 135 to make it to the big show. So when the UFC, made Rousey the champ and opened up the new weight class, it very, very much so drained out the 145ers worldwide in women's MMA. So now really 145 is kind of this ghost town with the women who were too big to drop down to 35, like Charmaine Tweet, who's just got a very tall frame, and Cyborg now. But we'll move on. Brett Okamoto reporting Brock Lesnar is apparently was sitting behind Dana White at UFC 184. It's all speculation, but we're doing rapid fire. Do we see Brock Lesnar in the UFC in 2015? I say yes. Year-end card: Rousey versus Cyborg, Lesnar versus Mir 3. Who else? We might see. We might even see Robbie Lawler versus GSP. You heard it here first. But yeah, what do you think about Brock's chances of fighting in the UFC this year?
I definitely think that the argument that took place at the recent WWE pay-per-view or Raw when Brock was scheduled to appear had to do with with them restructuring his new contract, with him being allowed to also compete in UFC as well as be under contract by WWE, and that's probably why him and Vince McMahon can't come to a reasonable closure to having signing a new contract, because he does want to compete. Let's be honest, he loves making the money fake wrestling, but it ain't the same. Yes, he will compete.
I think so too. Ramses?
Yeah, Brock Lesnar's going to be back. It's just he loves eating. He loves feeding. And to him, just collecting money, it's like when he's chopping down firewood and hauling it back the 20 miles back to the cabin. To him, just going out into the ring and beating the hell out of another human being, out of another man, and then taking home a pile of cash, it's like hunting for him. He doesn't give a fuck about the actual money. He doesn't even know where it goes. The wife spends it all. He just knows that he needs to keep feeding. And so, yes, he will be back. And he will cut a deal with the old man, Vince. Vince is a reasonable man. He'll see the light. Cross-promotion is going to sell. It's the only way to go from here on in. They're either going to... The WWE and the UFC, they're either going to learn to live together, or they're going to die alone, and that is the word on the street. Brock will be back. God bless.
Is the word. Brock is coming back. Burt Watson, it was reported by our very own Front Row Brian, which folks check out the FRB show if you have not yet. They're on Twitter at FRB show. FRB reported that Burt Watson had left the UFC. It turned out it's true. I don't know if we'll ever find out the circumstances. We originally heard some rumors that he sort of left in the middle of the event under some bad circumstances. But if that is true, it seems to be cleared up now, because Burt himself tweeted, after 14 amazing years, I've decided to step aside. Thank you, Dana White, Lorenzo Fertitta, and Donna Marcolini. What is your favorite Burt Watson memory, Alan?
Definitely in Boston. Going there, being a part of the UFC Boston experience back in 2013 when Chael subbed out Shogun. I would see Burt every single day, and because I was wearing the same shirts as Chael, the same ones that his coaches had, those Everyday We Fight shirts, he assumed that we were part of his entourage, and because we were going up and down the same elevators, and we just sat in the lobby one morning and had coffee, and we're talking about fighting UFC stuff, and it was pretty cool, just being in there hanging out with him.
Yeah, my first UFC event, I felt a little out of sorts, not really for any reason in particular, other than it was the first UFC I'd been to. I didn't really know how things worked, and I was surrounded by a bunch of mouth-breathing idiots in tap-out shirts. But Alan, you actually were waiting in line. It was either at the presser or the open workouts, and I was looking around the MGM trying to see where I was in relation to like the grand ballroom, and I hear this familiar voice going, "Hey, you looking for the presser?" And I'm like, yeah, and I look and it's Watson. And I'm like, oh shit, what's up, man? And he and I chatted and walked to the presser, and it made me feel welcome. You know, he's a UFC staple, and it was really cool. And he's a very normal guy. You know, he didn't really have a big head about him at all as we walked there. Ramsey, so I don't know if you've met him in person like Alan and I have, but do you have a favorite Burt Watson moment?
I wasn't actually there when this event occurred, but it is my favorite Burt Watson memory that I've heard of. And I'm sorry to rain on you guys' parade, but speaking of Kelvin Gastelum, who is going to be a tough coach now, he was getting ready to walk out at UFC Mexico for his fight. Burt Watson was in front of him leading the way. And then Burt Watson he's crazy. He's just yelling, screaming. He tries to snatch a curtain aside, and then the whole damn thing with the pipe and drape and everything collapses on his fucking head and knocks him out cold. A foot away. Kelvin said it happened 1 foot away from his face. He saw Burt Watson get knocked the fuck out seconds before he actually walked out to the goddamn octagon. All right? So Burt Watson, he's nuts. He's got it in his head that it was Kelvin's fault somehow. He thinks maybe Kelvin knocked him out. He refuses to believe he was brought down by basically what amounts to a heavy curtain. So he sets Kelvin up, fucks up the scale. That's why Kelvin was so overweight on his last weigh-in. He sabotaged that man. It's a true story.
What?
And allegedly. But yeah, man, Burt Watson isn't the nice guy you guys all make him out to be. You guys say he came up to you, met you, he was nice and that. Yeah. How much money did he ask for after you guys were done talking? You know what I'm saying?
$20.
Yeah.
Ramsey's
Exactly,
he's
man.
so nice that like the next time I saw him in Dallas, I guess he still thought I was part of somebody's fight camp. And whenever I got to the hotel, he like tells me, he's like, "Hey, we're on the first floor. That's where all the weigh-in stuff and everything in the office is set up at. Just come drop by." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I was like, I'm not here with anybody. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about." But he's like telling me where they're like, you know, where they go meet with all the fighters and go do the pre-weigh-ins and all that shit is. So that dude is awesome. He's super cool. You're alive.
It's only because he knew you were a cop or an eagle. What I'm saying though, Burt Watson ain't all he's cracked up to be when it comes to the fighters, man. I don't know if you guys have seen the video that I've tweeted out a few times. It's a UFC blog from Joe Lozon, and it's after Kelvin misses weight. Burt Watson is just yelling and screaming at the fighters, saying how they disrespected him, and like how they should just be flipping burgers if they can't make weight. It was total disrespect to Mr. Kelvin Gastelum, and that enraged me because that is not his job at all. I don't know what he's doing yelling at the fighters. And obviously, the rumor is that he yelled at Mark Munoz for missing weight, or was actually yelling at Dana and then even Lorenzo about the Munoz weight miss. Like he was taking it personally. And I listened to a few interviews with him where he says, like, when a fighter misses weight, like, it's disrespecting him. What the fuck is he talking about? That's not his job. He's out of control. He was like some sort of like Nazi when it came to the fighters in the backstage area, and he needed to go. He was getting senile, and he got knocked out by fabric, and that's the word on the street.
Beautifully put. That is the word. I think that does it for all of the rapid fire stuff. We'll change gears from UFC 184 to the presser the UFC did, which I don't know if this is going to be a normal thing now where they do like a big presser to sort of preview the next 3 or 4 months of fights. They did it at the beginning of the year with The Time Is Now, and now that all those fights have happened, the new one is Welcome to the Show. And they had a lot of fight matchups from the next 3 months. The main highlight of that event, though, was a fake fight between John Jones and Rumble Johnson. We all know Jones's last fight against Daniel Cormier. There was a lot of bad blood at the MGM Grand. They faced off and actually fought. Jones threw a punch. Cormier threw a shoe. Dave Scholler almost was murdered. It was bad press for the UFC, and White is squaring these guys off, and John Jones lowers his head and puts his forehead against Rumble's, just like he did against DC, and then they start shoving, and Dana starts yelling, "No, no, no!" And then Jones and Rumble stop and tell Dana it was a joke. The way I'm explaining it makes it a lot more anticlimactic than it really was, but was really, really funny. What did you think of that fake fight, Alan and Ramses?
I think they ruined the whole work now, because now the whole fight's going to be fake, and that these dudes are just friends and they're just trying to make money. So, way to spoil the work, guys. Great job.
Daniel Cormier said it was a mistake by Rumble, saying that, you don't want to be buddy-buddy with a guy you're trying to take his livelihood from.
Man, it was just a good prank. It was a good rib. These guys know that the time was not now. It was just some goofy ass appearance that they were making, getting paid for. Honestly, it was funny, I guess, but Rumble forgot to throw in the throat chop. Maybe that would have pissed John off for real. Maybe set some real shit off. But nah, man, this is just a goof, and sometimes things are what they seem, and I think a goof is a goof in this case. They'll find the heat and they'll sell it. I'm confident.
Word on the street. A bit of news that was made official. We all knew it was going to go down, but now it's official. Tough American Top Team versus Black Zillions. It's going to be the first season of The Ultimate Fighter outside of Vegas. They're doing it in South Florida, where both of these camps are. Premieres with a 2-hour episode on Wednesday, April 22nd at 10 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1, and will continue with 11 more 1-hour shows Wednesdays at 10 Eastern. I guess the prize is $500,000. I assume the winner will get signed by the UFC. I don't think we know the exact rosters yet, but I don't think any of the guys are current UFC fighters, although the coaches will obviously be UFC fighters. This is going to be fun. They're, Tough has sort of tried to do a lot of tweaks and do a lot of format changes. They did the season that had Kimbo and Roy Nelson. They did the season that was live when Faber and Cruz coached. They did the season where there were men and women in the house. They did the season where the winner is the new champion, and now they're doing a season where it's two teams squaring off against one another. What do you think about that format, and who do you think wins it all? Just seeing how they like these are two of the best teams in the world, so it's hard to pick one. But if I had to, I'm gonna say the Black Zillions, just because their coaches are unreal. Grappling, striking. These guys are really getting coached by the best. Not that they're not at American Top Team, just the BZs have an insane coaching staff. Alan Ramsey's, what are your thoughts?
American Top Team. My coach goes and trains there. I think if you break...
Which coach?
Thomas Webb.
Sure.
And if you look overall at like all their records and stuff, I'm pretty sure that the American Top Team fighters have a better win percentage in the UFC than Black Zillions. Because we all know, Black Zillions like Sean Soriano, they go 0-3 and get kicked out the UFC. Bam.
Shout out to Webb, who I know will be back, but unfortunately lost on was it Friday or Saturday night? Friday, in Houston. It's a feat to headline a card that's being shown nationwide on Axis. So shout out to Webb. Ramses.
What the hell was that? What the hell? What is this?
It was
what
a
kind
triangle.
Of setup? I don't know what's going on, people. I'm sorry, that threw me off there. What the hell were we talking about?
We are talking about the Ultimate Fighter ATT versus Black Zillions.
Oh, that's right. There's something about this thing that seems like a giant setup to me. These guys come out of nowhere. And then the preview was a little bit on the hokey side, kind of. They were like, I'm gonna beat him, and it's like, you guys are just rival coaches. And then they're switching locations. That's a little odd. I believe that this season will be 100%. What's it called? When it's like staged reality. There's a term for it. But yeah, they're probably going to script that season. There's something weird about this. It's just a feeling I'm getting. But I'll go with the Black Zillions just to counter Allen. That's it.
Hell yeah. Before we move on to Bellator 134, I wanted to bring up UFC 185. It's in a week and a half. We'll probably break it down next week. It's going down at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. Fighting on that card, UFC star, former welterweight champ, Johnny Hendricks. Johnny apparently opened up a restaurant just last month in January or February. He opened up a steakhouse. Alan Ramsey's, how long before this guy bumps up to middleweight? I mean, he's had weight issues in the past. Now he owns a steakhouse. Is it going to be possible for this man to make 170 ever again?
I mean, if he could just be like a normal person and not blow up in between fights, he wouldn't have any issue making the weight. He never used to have an issue making the weight. It's just the last couple of years when he's just gotten out of hand. I mean, the dude's grown up. He's been a wrestler his whole life, and then he's going into MMA. So it's understandable that, he wants to eat. I mean, it totally understandable. But there's no way he goes up to 185. He'll look even crazier small than Benson Henderson. And against well-conditioned guys at 185, he's not going to do well, and he's not going to knock anybody out.
I'm looking at a picture. The guy is standing in the restaurant wearing sweatpants. I don't think this is a good sign. Ramses, what are your thoughts on Johnny Hendricks owning a steakhouse now?
This is like the writing on the wall is right in front of it. This is like if Bob Sapp opened up a fucking Burger King. You know what I'm saying? It's all over, people. But yeah, this place is in Midlothian, Texas. Midlothian. It's outside of Dallas, about 7 hours away. I looked it up from here in Austin, Texas. So I am organizing a field trip. It's open to anybody that hears this, listening. If you want to meet up at Johnny Hendricks' new steakhouse called the Big Rig Restaurant, the Big Rig Steakhouse or some bullshit like that. It's called the Big Rig. Let me know. Hit me up.
In 3 months, I'll be driving through the state. We should do a special ep of the Word on the Street live from the Big Rig Steakhouse in Midlothian, Texas.
Yeah, well, yeah. If it's good, I'll definitely go back. But I was thinking we're gonna do this tomorrow. So if anybody wants to go, yeah, I want the fucking 16-ounce T-bone. Only $21. That's a reasonable price. That's reasonable for a Texas steak. But God knows what kind of quality cattle they've hoodwinked Johnny into buying. You know what I'm saying? They probably sold him a couple runts. I don't know. But I'll have to taste it. But yeah, if it's good, man, whenever you're around, Jake, man, we'll go down there.
Let's do it.
But yeah, meet up with me. Hit me up on Twitter if you want to meet up at Johnny Hendricks' Steakhouse, and we'll do a full review. YouTube's, Instagrams, all that. Word on the street.
Word on the street. And we aren't an we aren't a UFC show. We're an MMA show. So there was another MMA card this past weekend, a big card. It was Bellator 134 the night before UFC 184, and it was called British Invasion because we had a lot of Brits that were scheduled to beat a lot of Americans. Just very favorable fights toward British fighters. One thing that really shocked me is I was speaking with my buddy Jay Jeans, who lives in England, and I was like, yeah, they're probably promoting the shit out of this, right? He's like, honestly, I haven't seen him talk about it once, and I don't even know if it's going to be on television over here. Which, what an opportunity wasted. They did all of this stuff. British Invasion, that's the name of the card. You were supposed to have Michael Page on it. You have Liam McGeary, who's the new Bellator light heavyweight champion, who's British. You have Paul Daly, who is maybe the best British fighter ever. He really didn't find a lot of success in the UFC, but he's won just a ton of fights, and he's known for his KO power. I thought it was a really wasted spot by Bellator. But like I said, Liam McGeary takes the title from Emmanuel Newton at 205. King Mo defeats Chick Congo in a split decision. Paul Daly wins a decision over Andre Santos. Linton Vassell with a pretty impressive second-round TKO over Sokaju. And Brennan Ward, who filled in for Michael Page, won the first fight less than 2 minutes in, which shows you how much of a bum they were feeding to Michael Page. They really wanted him to destroy this dude. Did either of you watch the fight? The fights, Alan, I know you were actually at the Legacy card, so I don't know if you got a chance to watch this card since. But what did you think about it? If you were able to catch it?
No, I wasn't able to watch. I still haven't gone back and checked my DVR yet, but I will eventually. All I gotta say is, King Mo, you're a bum.
King Mo, you a bum. Yeah, it was an okay card. It was, dude, the beginning of the main card was maybe the corniest shit I've ever seen. They line up the 5 quote-unquote British fighters, which they have Chick Congo standing over there like, what the fuck, I'm from France. And then you have the American fighters, and they did, like, it was cringeworthy, man. It was like 10 minutes long, and they like put the spotlight on the British fighters and played the British national anthem, then put the spotlight on the American fighters and played the Star Spangled Banner, like, and it was maybe the most corny thing I've ever seen Bellator do, and they've done a lot of corny shit.
That sounds horrible, and I am glad that I did not watch a single second of it. I don't even remember I can tell you what I was doing, but I don't remember it. I was playing the new PC game, H1Z1, people. Try it out. It'll change your damn life. I can't wait to get back in there and crawl in the bush as soon as we're done talking. MMA.
What is the game about for our gaming listeners?
It's a massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
An MMORG?
RPG, whatever it is. It's one of those. It's like Warcraft, except instead of like you're flying around, with hobbits and dragons and whatnot, casting spells. No, this is a zombie apocalypse, massive online game. It will change everything about your life. I now appreciate when I see that I have canned goods in my cupboard. I'm pleased. I feel secure now. I don't have to worry. I got to stay hydrated, got to collect water. You people don't know how important that is. But this game also you can fight people using only MMA techniques if you don't have an actual weapon. And so that's badass. And you can craft jujitsu, and that's the bottom line. Fallen server on H1C1.
I was muted up there. I apologize. One bit of Bellator news you didn't need to watch that card to know about or have a hot take on. I don't know what to say. Ken Shamrock and Kimbo Slice are going to be fighting. They're going to be main eventing a Bellator card in St. Louis, Missouri at the Scottrade Center, Saturday, June 20th, live on Spike TV. A heavyweight battle between 41-year-old Kimbo Slice, who hasn't fought in 5 years, and 51-year-old Ken Shamrock, who hasn't fought in 5 years. This is maybe the biggest sideshow in modern MMA history. I can't think of any fight in the last 10 years that has this much of a sideshow quality as this fight. The winner has no chance of eventually getting a title or beating anyone elite at their weight class. And this is almost certainly a one-off fight for both guys. But both guys are using the line of, I love to fight, and I'm just gonna step in there and do what I love doing. I don't know, man. Part of me wants to stand up on a pedestal and shake my fist and say, this is fucked up for the sport, and it almost makes a mockery of mixed martial arts. But I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to watch this fight. I am interested in watching this fight and seeing what goes down. Just, a ballsy move by Scott Coker and Bellator. But we're going to see Kimbo Slice and Ken Shamrock June 20th. Two old-ass men who haven't fought in forever but have huge draw appeal, I guess. I don't know. Alan, what are your thoughts on Slice versus Shamrock?
Holy fucking shit. What the hell? If these dudes want to fight, let them fucking fight. They're old. They're old. They deserve it. I don't know how Ken Shamrock is going to pass a drug test. Oh, wait. It's Bellator. They don't drug test. If you saw the picture of him, he looks like he's juiced to the gills. Funny thing is, Kim Shamrock never had a chin, and Kimbo Slice never had any cardio. So, yeah, this is probably going to be the worst fight ever. But we're still going to watch it. What the fuck? Somebody's going to die.
Yeah, I'm actually predicting that this will go in some insane, unpredicted direction. I also suspect that someone will die, probably as a result of out of control violence. Let's not forget that Ken Shamrock is the most dangerous man alive. All right, no one's ever taken that away from him.
It's true. It is a fact that Ken Shamrock is the world's most dangerous man. That's not an opinion. That's fact.
That's right. And Kimbo's going to learn the hard way, man. Unfortunately, because he will be beaten into the living death. Word on the street.
Word on the street. Let's talk about a few fight announcements and get the fuck out of here. Eddie Alvarez and Gilbert Melendez to co-main UFC 186 on June 13th. What do you think about that fight? A few years ago, these were the top dog lightweights that were outside of the UFC. Melendez tearing up Strikeforce, Alvarez tearing up Bellator. Now they're both in the UFC. They're both fighting one another. They actually talked a lot of shit back and forth back when they were in Strikeforce and Bellator, and apparently the bad blood has carried over. So we're gonna see it June 13th, UFC 186, which is going down in Mexico City, and it will be headlined by Kane versus Verdum. Cardio is going to be a very big factor in this fight, which it's going to be a huge factor in Kane versus Verdum. I think it actually gives Verdum more of a chance because Kane's style, Kane just pushes and pushes and pushes. And apparently Kane said to Cormier once, I heard DC mention this in an interview, apparently one of those fights against Junior, I think the second fight, the one that Kane won, Kane said that he was very close to passing out after the third or fourth round, but, kept going. This is going to be in Mexico City. You have a lot of fighters have problems in Denver, especially heavier guys. Denver is 1 mile high. Mexico City is 2 miles high. So it's going to pose a lot of issues for Kane and Fabricio, and it will pose some issues, though not as much, for Eddie Alvarez and Gil Melendez. I don't know which of the two I would edge as far as cardio. Eddie has more of a lean physique, but Gil trains with two of the best conditioned athletes in the UFC and the Diaz brothers. So that's probably close. And as far as skills go, I give it to Gil. I think Eddie deserves to be a top 10 guy in lightweight, which in my thoughts are the toughest weight class in the UFC. But Melendez is a top 5 guy. I think he beats anyone you put in front of him, not named Anthony Pettis or Habib Nurmagomedov. So I'm leaning toward Gil to steal a show at UFC 186. Which way are you leaning, Alan?
Looking at it, I want to root for Eddie. I want him to do good in the UFC, but I don't know. I don't know if his chin can hold up. The dude's been hurt so many times, and it's a really even matchup. Let's just put it that way. And I think Eddie's a faster, more well-rounded guy, but I think Gil's just gonna get in his face and just put it on him. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with Eddie, man. I think Eddie. I think he somehow pulls it out. I don't know, but I just want to see the guy succeed. That's all.
No, man, no. You got to go by what you've seen. And Eddie Alvarez, his performance in the last fight was atrocious. And everyone wants to say ring rust. Well, now he's got to deal with ring rust in that shitty performance. As far as I'm concerned, man, it was shitty. I've seen nothing from this man except just more pullouts, more excuses. He's gonna get his ass whooped in this one, hands down. But it's not like I don't like the guy, but you got to show me something here. So I believe he will be destroyed in this fight, unfortunately. Melendez, dude, One of the first fights I ever saw in the UFC, Melendez versus Sanchez. God bless UFC 166 in Houston, Texas. Impressive fighter, withstood, prevailed. So I got to back him in this one. I've seen him. I've never seen anything from Eddie. That's it.
God bless. Next fight, UFC 187. This card is really shaping up. By the way, myself, Alan, the Jew, Ross Finkelstein, we will all be at the fight at UFC 187, staying across the street at the Hooters. If you want to meet up, you've got one beer on me. But no,
Jake.
more than one. What's that?
You forgot to mention.
I'm not buying you 2 beers. What?
You forgot to mention. I'm going to UFC 185.
Damn, you're going to 85, 87. You're not going to Manila. You're fucking.
I'm going to
World
UFC.
beater, you motherfucker. yeah. That's got what now? It's got Beta versus DC. Who else?
You fuckers stay away from Lexi and Katie Bear.
That's right. UFC 187. It's going down in Vegas. And we got Dong Young Kim versus Josh Berkman filled in. It's probably going to be a main card fight. Man, I like Kim a lot, but Berkman is a very tough matchup. And just to play devil's advocate, I think Kim might struggle with his wrestling striking style. I don't know. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. Fucking you cocksuckers. Alan, who wins the fight?
Just being like completely unbiased. If you watch Berkman's fight against Lombard, like, did he have an injury or something? Didn't they say Berkman was like sick or something during that Lombard fight?
Yeah, I think he had some sort of flu type symptoms.
Well, and Stun Gun's not going to knock him out, but if you look at like the way that Berkman stood with that like shoulder roll shit that he was doing, if he comes and does that with Stun Gun, Kim, I think, is going to revert back to his old, way of fighting, which was just to take you down and fucking just smother you. I think that Kim definitely learned from his last fight. Don't fucking go in there and throw a spinning back elbow right out of the gate and be a freaking retard. Do what got you to the big show. Don't change horses once you get there. And I just think Kim's much more talented than people give him. He didn't really lose to Damian Maia. That was a fucking freak accident injury. Yeah, he lost to Caro Parisian, but he's only really lost to Woodley and Condit. Woodley and Condit are his only real losses. And, those are two of the top guys in the division. And I don't think Berkman's a top guy in the division. So I got Kim winning it.
A quick side note, Steve Carl, the guy who beat Berkman at World Series of Fighting 6 for the WSOF Welterweight Championship, he's actually going to be in Tough 21, Blackzilian's first American Top Team, as he trains out of American Top Team. So he'll probably be one of the favorites there. Ramses Berkman versus Stun Gun, who you got?
I only have a 3-word prediction. Yum Yum Kim.
Yum Yum Kim. Cocksuckers. The last fights we got to preview. 2 fights added recently to the UFC Manila card on May 16th. Gegard Mousasi taking on Costa Philippou, and Neil Magny taking on Hyun Gyu Lim. I think Gegard will probably be a sizable favorite over Philippou. Philippou, I don't know, he's just looked uninspired, and Gegard has proved with his track record that he only really loses to elite guys, and Philippou does not fit that bill. So I'm taking Gegard. Neil Magny and Hyung-Gyu Lim. This is one of my favorite fights scheduled of 2015. This fight is fucking awesome. You have Magny, who is on a long streak of wins, I think 7 in a row, and you have Lim, who is this dangerous young guy. This could go either way, but I'm going to go with Magny, A, because I'm biased and he trains out of Denver. B, I think, Lim has a sizable range advantage on almost all of his opponents, and where he doesn't really use it that often, I think Magny, who's also a huge guy at 170, I think Neil will keep range, stay on the outside, and really dictate the pace of the fight and dictate where the fight takes place. So for those reasons, I'm taking Gegard Mousasi and Neil Magny. Alan Ramses, I'll pass it to you, and then we're shutting this motherfucker down.
First I'll go with the Gegard Mousasi and Costas Philippou matchup. Gegard Mousasi is way out of Costa Philippou's class. Costa should have accepted the rescheduling of the fight with Uriah Hall, even though he would have got murdered in that fight as well. He just had a better chance. But, I don't know. I think Costa pissed somebody off because he's going to get murdered by Gegard Mousasi. But yeah, Costa Philippou, you're a Philip pussy for not taking the fight with Uriah Hall because Uriah Hall called you out and you're a bitch. With the other fight, Hyung-Gyu Lim, my boy, the man I spent a week with in Japan. The dude is just a fucking gentle giant, but when he steps in that octagon, he's a fucking killer.
Neil Magny?
Yeah, Neil Magny, dude, I love fucking watching Neil Magny fight because, he's come so far on The Ultimate Fighter. He got finished. He fucking got finished by Mike Ricci. Jesus fucking Christ, Mike Ricci isn't even in the UFC anymore, and he's a 155er. And for
sucking
Neil
off bums.
Yeah, exactly. Putting his thumb up Rory McDonald's asshole. Neil Magny went from that to fucking winning 6 fights in a row inside the UFC Jake 6. He will never reach 7 in a row, unfortunately, because that just doesn't happen.
Hot take.
And he's fighting Hyung-Gyu, the A-Slim. Do you want my prediction? I agree with you, actually, that Neil Magny is better, a more well-rounded fighter, probably has better strength and conditioning. But there is one thing that Neil Magny does not have, in that, well, there's 2 things. That's an incredible chin, because we've seen him get finished before. And he does not have the type of heart that Hyung-Gyu Lim is shown over and over again. Neil Magny hasn't been in trouble.
He has black explosiveness.
He really doesn't, actually. He's actually super white.
That's
but
a decent point.
If you watch Neil Magny's fights, his last couple of fights, he just hasn't been in trouble or in any type of danger, and he's really just controlled and dictated all of the fights, and we haven't seen him, facing type of, danger, and he's going to get hit hard in this fight. He better, accept that, and it's going to be a rough night. Obviously Neil Magny on paper is the guy you pick, but I just can't pick against my boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Rob Hines has called a stop to this contest at 3 minutes, 58 seconds of the very first round. Declared the winner by TKO, Hyung-Gyu, the Ace-Slim.
Yeah, Neil's last 3 fights: Alex Garcia, William Macario, and Kichi Kunimoto. All have been against killers. Lim's an even bigger killer than all 3 of those guys. So this is going to be a huge test for both gentlemen. Ramses, take it out for us.
Well, I'm because the Eagle vouches for him, I got to go with Yum Lim here. But I do agree that Neil Magny has turned it around. It's funny how that happens. One day he's getting his ass whooped by Mikey Ricci. And then, we've all seen that preposterous video of Mike Ricci and Rory McDonald sipping wine in leather massage chairs while some obviously like actresses or hookers were just sitting there like not knowing like what's going on, like how gay are these guys, like are they gonna have to do anything at all? And then so Mike Ritchie goes from knocking out Neil Magny and hanging out with Rory McDonald.
He is a faggot.
And then 3 weeks later, you know, Rory ain't even answering when that apartment, that condo buzzer goes off. He ain't even answering Mikey Ricci. All right? Mikey Ricci's in his parents' basement again, eating that pasta and the gummy candies. Anyway, Neil, though, he's doing great. He's turned it around. He came full. He recovered from that beating is what I'm trying to say. So it's going to be a close fight. It's actually interesting to me. Usually these low-profile fights don't do much for me. But this one, I'm going to watch mostly because Yum Yum Lim was very nice to the Eagle in his time over there, overseas in Japan. And, you know, I hope, like, whoever loses, like, gets hurt, like, really badly and violently on television. And that's the word on the street.
That is the word on the street. 2 quick notes before we send it out. Good news for Australia. Melbourne is supposed to get a big card, UFC 193, apparently going to Melbourne. And good news for New York. With Sheldon Silver arrested, Mark Ratner recently reported that MMA just passed through their Senate Tourism Committee, which means they might get some UFC in the state of New York sometime in the relatively near future. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked it, tell a friend. Visit the MMApodcast.com, the MMA Podcast on Twitter, MMA Mental. Our boys C. Lowenstein, Ross Finkelstein, Yeah, the Truth, you know where to find all those motherfuckers. Alan, where do we find you?
Westland Eagle AH on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all the same. I make it simple for you people. Peace. We out.
Hell yeah. Ramses, take it out.
I just want to say thank you, Jake, from the MMA Podcast for having me on. Thank you, Eagle. Where the hell's the video? And just last thing. It was an honor being at the UFC event in Los Angeles and meeting my Katie Bear. Shout out to her. Thanks for taking the time to say hi to me. I'm sorry that I didn't actually tell you who I was. And that, you know, I just kind of started playing with your hair awkwardly and drooling like Josh Koscheck. But Katie Bear, shout out, girl. The Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. Word on the street.
That's right. Listen to the show. We've recently started updating the MMApodcast.com again for the first time in months. We'll be back next week to break down UFC 185, try and do some more interviews. We love the shit out of you, and like I've said a million times, we could not appreciate the support anymore. We'll see you next week. We gone.
Shut up, Jake. Tune into the MMA Podcast every Tuesday night.
My God, Dr. Wild Style, always been a foul child. Will I, sucker? I be the coming like Noah.
Sucker. The MMA Podcast, Jake is the host. And since Ramsey's been in the wheelchair, the Aunt Jimmy Show has been on the road. I wanna say John Jones is a host, so I think that I'll pick up the phone and dial 213-457-3380. We got hot takes on the stove. You get blood on your clothes if you're sitting in the front row. I throw on my gi and then I lace the hoops. I'll have Yao lying down cause he ain't the truth. And if Alan wasn't a cop, I'd mention you. And shout out to Ross Finkelstein the Jew. Cause according to you, you're an MMA guru. A Brew Bisbing lost his hands Count Dooku. If you're a fancy boy, you get a 2-minute slot. Mr. Reed wants a title shot. So listen to the MMA Podcast. Throw a high kick, but I block that. Call me TS, Screaming George, where you at? I'm on the strap. But you know that I'll never tap. So listen to the MMA Podcast. Throw a high kick, but I block that. Call me BS, screaming George, where you at? I want the strap, and you know that I won't tap. Mystery, the MMA Podcast. Most of us just live and breathe this fighting shit. Shut up, Jake. Shut up, Jake.